In the 1960s, Venus is still a complete mystery, a planet the size of Earth, wrapped in thick clouds no telescope can see through. Some serious scientists genuinely believe there are warm oceans down there, maybe swamps, maybe even jungles crawling with strange alien life. The Soviet Union decides that it will become the very first nation to reach the surface itself and finally find out exactly what is hiding underneath. They build a probe called Venera, a heavy metal sphere designed to fall through the clouds and radio back whatever it manages to find. The earliest attempts never even arrive, failing quietly in Earth orbit or going silent somewhere in the long dark between the planets. Venera 3 becomes the first human object ever to strike another planet, but its radio is already dead by the time it arrives. Venera 4 finally reaches the atmosphere in 1967 and begins sending back real measurements as it slowly descends through the clouds. The numbers coming back are wrong, badly and impossibly wrong, because the temperature keeps climbing far past anything the engineers ever thought was even possible. The probe stops transmitting long before it can land, crushed and slowly cooked somewhere high above the surface it never actually reached. Venus is not a warm ocean world at all. It is by far the hottest planet in the entire solar system, easily hot enough to melt solid lead. The atmospheric pressure down there on the surface is roughly 90 times what we feel at sea level, exactly the same as sitting a full kilometre deep in the ocean. Everything the engineers had built so far was simply far too fragile. So they go right back to the drawing board and start building for hell itself. The new landers are thick titanium spheres, heavy and reinforced, built more like deep-sea submarines than anything ever launched into space. In 1970, Venera 7 falls through the clouds, and its parachute tears apart in the burning atmosphere below. It slams into the ground at 17 meters per second, and everyone watching back home on Earth simply assumes the whole mission is completely over. For 23 whole minutes, a faint signal keeps arriving, so weak that nobody even notices it until weeks later inside the recorded data tapes. It is the very first radio transmission ever sent back home from the surface of another planet, and it was very nearly thrown away as meaningless noise. Venera 8 lands safely 2 years later and confirms everything, sending back light readings that show a dim orange world beneath the clouds. But nobody has actually seen any of it yet, so the next landers carry something entirely new, a special camera built to survive the descent. In 1975, Venera 9 touches down, pops off its lens cap, and begins scanning the landscape line by line. The image travels slowly back home to Earth, building up piece by piece on the screen, while the whole control room goes silent. Flat, broken slabs of dark rock stretch away toward a strangely close horizon, under a sky the dull orange color of burning sulphur. It is the very first photograph ever taken down on the surface of another planet, and somehow it looks unnervingly like an abandoned gravel quarry at dusk. 53 minutes after landing, the heat reaches the electronics inside the sphere, and the transmission simply stops mid-sentence. In 1982, the last and toughest landers arrive, drilling into the rock and sending back the first color views of the surface. In one of those photographs, you can even clearly see the discarded circular lens cap lying there on the alien stones right beside the lander's metal foot. Every single machine that ever touched that burning surface was dead within about 2 hours, slowly cooked inside its own titanium shell. Yet in under 20 years, the program went from total failure to 10 successful landings on the most hostile surface in the solar system. Nobody has landed anything on Venus since, so those grainy orange photographs are still the only pictures ever taken down there. And somewhere out on that burning plain, the dead machines are still sitting where they landed, slowly dissolving into the planet that killed them.